Okay, everyone, welcome back to the Focusielts.com YouTube channel with me, Rezu, and today we're going to have a special, very new and fresh guest, for today. So,
Not sure about fresh though.
but it's still fresh. It's a new face,
Yeah.
almost new face here, in this channel. So maybe can you introduce yourself first, sir?
Okay, hi Rezu, thank you. Hi everybody. My
Mm.
name is Johannes, as Rezu said. I'm new, I'm new, relatively new teacher. Actually, I've been teaching for BC for about 3 years maybe, but as a part-time, so not full-time. And I've been teaching English actually overall for almost 10 years now already. So I got my certificate from Cambridge, my CELTA certificate about 7 years ago. And I really enjoy teaching, meeting new people and sharing my experience and my knowledge about the English language.
Okay,
That's
that's
it for now.
amazing. Oh, it's amazing. So we can call you Mr. Joe or Mr. Johannes.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah,
Yeah. Also,
that's fine. Yeah,
let's call it
that's
Mr. Joe.
most students call me that. Yeah.
Oh, also call me that. Okay. So as you said that even though Mr. Joe has worked with us for like 2 or 3 years with a part-time and maybe like a lot of general English students, general English and IELTS,
Most
like
of it. Yeah,
most of them general
I've
English.
taught only a few IELTS students.
Okay, VIL students, and but he is a fresh face in our YouTube channel because I think it's his first time,
Yes.
doing this session, and you got me as your
Oh,
MC, which
okay.
is
You're new
quite
too.
quite shy teacher, I think.
All right.
Okay, yeah, and so for today, Mr. Joe and all the viewers, we are going to talk about something that maybe a lot of people still trying to find. Which is about speaking IELTS, and a lot of people actually fear this stage of test because it's like meeting people and having you judged directly as they, think they think that they will be judged directly, and then all this stuff. So we are going to talk about speaking IELTS and about our experience, actually about Mr. Joe's experience having the IELTS. Maybe also we can a little bit talk about the CELTA certificate as well, and we have like deep about your about Mr. Joe history as well as a teacher. Okay,
All
are,
right.
are you ready, Mr. Joe, to be
I am ready.
interrogated?
Yes.
Interrogated. You're ready? Yes. Okay. So
Yeah.
let's start with, as you said that you have been teaching for 10 years, so
Hmm.
it's quite a long time. So how do you get your, like calling of being a teacher?
Oh, okay. So my background is actually an engineer, and I retired from. I used to work for an oil company, and I retired in 2002. Oh, sorry, 2012. So when I retired, I said, well, I have a lot of passion in teaching anything. When I was still working, I also taught the employees about business, about leadership, all sorts of things, and also English. The company operated in a very remote areas. So when I was assigned to these remote areas temporarily, I always try to spend some time to teach the local people English, like the students, elementary or high school. But I don't have the background. So when I retired, I said, well, I'm going to get it right. So after a year or two after retirement, I decided, well, I'm going to take the CELTA because I don't know how to teach. I have a lot of passion, but I don't have the a teaching background actually.
And
So anyway, so that's how I started teaching. And CELTA for me as an older guy, a retired guy, it's not that easy to pass because especially the grammar side. Talking maybe I don't have that much problem because I went to school in the U.S. and I work for an American company. So talking to me is not that difficult. But when you get into the root of the grammar and also sentence structure and all that, I found that a little bit difficult. So, but along the way, I learn and learn more. Does
fantastic.
that answer your question, Rezu?
Exactly. It's
Okay,
perfectly.
thank you.
It's answering my question and the question inside my mind.
All right. Okay, that's good
So you're
then.
2 steps ahead, but it's completely great because it shows how how great it was, and how the calling was come from your inside, like your passion.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you can see from all the books, unlike me, which is this a fake book here, it's a
That's
real book.
fine. I'm just trying to impress people in order to talk. You
Okay,
asked me
I'm
how
impressing
many
the
of those books I read. Maybe only half.
oh yeah, but still it's beyond you the big number if it's called half. Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about IELTS a little bit, Mr. Joe. So have you ever taken any IELTS test, maybe, and what time and when did you take it?
I've never taken the formal IELTS, to actually have to pass and use it for application or anything. I've taken TOEFL a couple of times. As I don't know whether I mentioned this before, but I went to school in the US, so I did have to pass the TOEFL. And when I got my master's also in the US, I have to retake not really the TOEFL, so more advanced English test because I was going to get my master's degree. IELTS, I've taken the, what do you call it, the BOK one, or the, I don't know, just to practice, yeah. And teaching IELTS, I've been teaching IELTS before I even joined BC. I used to work for LT, is it LT or the Australian? I can't remember the name, but at that time it was offline, of course, in classes of 3 to 4 students. So I taught a lot of IELTS for 3 years, I think. Yeah, the whole program: speaking, writing, listening, and reading as well.
Okay, and so what do you think as a person who like already tried a lot of mock tests before? So what do you think of the IELTS itself, and what kind of test do you think it is? And then what do you think about specifically speaking IELTS speaking tests?
Okay, maybe I start with the overall IELTS. I think it's a very good test. It really tests your, I'm teaching the academic part of IELTS, of course, and I think by asking the student to prepare, before they take the IELTS, to prepare, they also learn other things, not just to pass the IELTS exam, right? Of course, they also can expand their knowledge about how to write academics paper, for example. Yeah. So from all the IELTS elements, I think the writing part is the most difficult. And if you write it down, so writing, reading, listening, and speaking, at least that's to me. Yeah? And speaking is actually the most fun part. And teaching the speaking, the IELTS speaking is, to me, it's relatively easy because I enjoy talking, and maybe they don't like to listen to me, but I'm not sure. But it's really fun to teach English speaking because we have a conversation, and we can also explore the individual, what their passion, hobbies, background, and so forth. So that's also an opportunity to interact more closely to the student instead of just ask them to write or to read. Yeah. So in short, speaking is, I think, the easiest part, but it's also the most fun part of IELTS.
Okay, so as maybe the viewers always think that, oh, the IELTS speaking was like the hardest, or like it's the hardest too fast, or maybe some people think that it was the most stressful part because it was, in IELTS, like talking directly to people using our mouth instead of writing or typing like the other skills, just listening, reading, and writing. Yeah. So that's but from the perspective of Mr. Joe, it's quite fun. Exactly. I also think that speaking is fun time because like it's the part when we don't have to think a lot, which is like directly speaking. Yeah. So as Mr. Joe,
maybe I need to add, I guess I'm coming from a teacher's perspective, but I can see why a lot of the non-English speakers are nervous about it, especially when they have to take the IELTS. They will meet the native speaker who speaks very fast. So I can see why speaking is the most stressful part of taking the IELTS. It's easy for me to say because I went to school there and I worked for 25 years in an American company, so I use the English a lot, the English speaking a lot. So, but I can understand why some students find it the most difficult one. They get nervous and they lose self-confidence and they forget everything that they learned.
Okay. Yeah, sometimes nervous it might be, for Mr. Joe, as already mentioned before, nervousness might be the biggest problem. Yeah, instead of the maybe English skill or the vocabulary, and most of the time people will just like falling down because of their nervousness, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
So let's talk about like what is the most important things when we want to take the IELTS speaking from Mr. Joe perspective. So what should people do to be able to face the speaking, because we like it or not, we have to face it, and we have to get a great score if you want to go somewhere. So how are the tips, or maybe like one thing to remember or two things to remember when we want to take the IELTS speaking test?
Well, it's probably a cliche or standard answer is that practice, practice, and practice. Yeah. But in addition to that, I think people should know, especially in the, I forgot, it's the first or second part where they asked, personal question about your personal situation, where do you live and all that. You should be able to answer that. You have to be confident that you know better about the answer to that question than to the teacher. So it's not like an exam where the professor asks you a question, tricky question about the subject, about technology, about science and all that. But this is actually quite simple to answer. Yeah. Why should you be nervous? Because the question is actually about yourself, and you are the only one who knows more about yourself than anybody else. So I think by thinking about that, you will probably lose some of your nervousness or gain more self-confidence. And I think the other part is culturally, we Indonesian like to laugh. So whenever we make mistakes in speaking English, for example, everybody laugh, not laugh at you, not try to humiliate you, but just having fun. But remember that the English, what do you call it, examiner won't laugh at you. So don't worry about that,
Exactly. And maybe let's talk about the most common mistakes that people have during the IELTS. So do you have any, specific time or specific like people that always do the same mistake, or maybe a lot of students that have the same mistakes that you think while you're encountering the IELTS speaking test student?
Well, I can't think about any particular mistake, but they always,
Mhm.
especially at the beginning part, when they first started, they got really nervous because the ice is not melted yet, right? So, but IELTS has actually been very kind because the first few questions are directly asking about your personal, how do you call it, personal things that you should know more. So once you start, when you are able to answer the first couple of questions, you should gain more confidence, yeah, and then answer some of the more difficult question later on in the test. So if you ask me about the common mistakes they make, is that it's basically nervousness at the beginning where they should be able, so the mistake is that they should be able to answer all that relatively easy questions because you know all the answer, you just get nervous about saying that or afraid of making mistakes or grammatical mistakes.
Okay. Okay.
And I think it's better to answer than be afraid of making the grammatical mistakes. It's better to just answer it even if it's wrong grammatically.
I mean, yeah, like those kind of people, like sometimes they care more about the grammar instead of like the fluency.
That's right. Yeah.
But yes, right, like some that those kind of people that maybe they more having, because that in school, our especially our generations, they always think that, oh, grammar, I need to finish this grammar, I need to be 100% good in this grammar, and they focus on that as well when doing the applicative skills like writing
Yes.
and speaking. Well, in speaking, sorry, in writing it might be very important, yes, okay, because we
Yes.
need
Yes. Yes.
we need
You're
to.
exactly right, Resu. I mean,
Yeah.
my experience is the same thing. Every time you ask question to the students, what would you like to focus on this session, on this learning English? It's always grammar, grammar, and grammar. I said, well, grammar is important, but the other part is to gain self-confidence and be able to converse in the language.
Mhm. And then I always also say that to the people, like, okay, you want to talk about grammar, but like, even when we talk in Bahasa Indonesia, sometimes we don't really pay attention to the grammar as well.
That's
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
yeah.
We
So
take it
that,
for granted. Yeah.
yeah, and then like it's still like, okay, you can still hear people like speak, and you can understand it, but like it doesn't mean that you have to ignore it completely, no, but like
No, yeah, I
less
agree.
stress about it, less stress, yeah, less stress. Like a lot of people like, oh miss, I want to have a
Yeah.
test, but my
Yeah.
grammar is so bad. It's like, okay, what about your idiom?
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
a good example about the Bahasa Indonesia also, because some people talk Bahasa Indonesia, but if you check the grammar of Bahasa Indonesia, it's probably wrong anyway, but for some reason you have the confidence to speak it.
exactly. So we have to reflect on that and exactly apply it to the English, but not like completely ignoring the grammar.
That's
Like still having this, like still have a standard sentence and have like, but like not too stressful about it, because it will hint, yeah, it will make a little bit of, problem with your fluency, which is one of the most important part as well. Yeah.
right.
Yes.
The other thing I think people should realize, people, I mean, the Indonesian students like us also, that it's not our native language, and we make mistakes too. Talking about that, even the American make grammatical mistake too. So I don't think they should worry about making mistakes. Just be able to communicate. Have the willingness and also the confidence to communicate in English.
Okay, that's amazing. Yeah, yeah. Okay, maybe Mr. Joe, we can have a little bit of closing meant, and the closing will be about what is the first most important things to pay attention. So because we know that people a lot having a different type of importance, but like what is the most important things to practice and to to practice and practice more when you want to take IELTS speaking tests.
Okay, I think first of all, I always remind my students is that the session that we are having is not enough, for taking the IELTS test. People think that, okay, I'll go 3 times a week, 90 minutes per day. That should be enough. They should learn more. They should spend more time practicing the IELTS, and not just the other tips I would like to give is not just studying the strategy of taking the IELTS test or pass it, right? You have to learn also about other things about the English language, broaden beyond knowing how to answer the IELTS question. So, by reading, not just reading, just focus only on IELTS test, but try to read beyond what IELTS is teaching you or going to be testing you.
Okay, that's amazing. That's
But general
why.
knowledge helps a lot. Yeah.
It was like very great answer, and I hope all the viewers can get the point of like it's not only just about how you correctly state, but also like how do you communicate the meaning or
Right.
communicate what you wanted, and that is what the most important point in IELTS instead of even though maybe they have the same percentage, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay, okay. Okay then, so I think that will be all about our sessions and our video for today. So thank you so much, Mr. Joe, for the insight.
Thank you, Rachel. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And then don't forget
Yeah.
to like and subscribe, and as well as comment to know what else you want to talk about and what else you want us to describe, and having maybe no more videos about speaking maybe, or maybe another type of skill as well. You can leave a comment and just have a good time. Okay. Yes, so
Thank
that
you,
will be
Rachel.
all, Mr. Joe. I think it's time to
Yeah.
say goodbye.
Good luck to all of you in passing the IELTS test. Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Thanks. Guys, yeah. Bye.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you.